All right, man. We at the end of the trial. I gotta ask you. We waiting for the verdict. What's your prediction, man?
I'm going to say this first, brother, that nobody knows what the jury decision is going to be. Nobody. And for me to have a prediction like I got a crystal ball or I want something to happen, I'm going to tell you my predictions, but I want to say this first, if you allow me to. This journey didn't start in 2018 when I came to YouTube and I started talking about Bad Boy and Diddy and his character. This journey started right after the Notorious Big was murdered, and even before then. But me conversating and talking about Diddy in the streets of New York was verified by somebody who actually came home, and that was Roger Bonds in probably 2007 or 2008, because Roger Bonds was a dude in the street getting money or whatever. And when he came out, he was given a job with Bad Boy. So I'm just going to leave that part. He clarified it in the Bad Boy camp because he's the only one other than me that has came out and spoke about any of this stuff. So when I start talking about Puff character and the dude that he was, it was after Big got murdered. Even though I was still working for Bad Boy, I still was talking about who this cat was. Like I tried to tell y'all, they needed me more than I needed them. A lot of these guys who come on this internet, they don't know. Bruh, they don't know that I was a New York State parole officer. I ran Elite Investigation. I ran Tiana Towers, Eastchester Housing, Eastchester Housing, Tiana Towers, and Lampert Housing, doing the security teams around there. I ran clubs, the Mirage. You understand? I did the security. I did a lot of things. I helped guys in the street change their life, reintegrate them back. And Mighty, just give me a minute, brother. Just give me a minute. Because I want to get this out, bro. Because, because a lot of people is going to say, like, yo, after Puff and this trial thing goes on with Bad Boy, the Gene don't have a story. You understand? If these people would read my books, if these people would do interviews and talk about a lot of stuff in my book, they know I did a lot of stuff in the streets that helped guys get out the streets. People want to shut me up and people want me to be quiet because I tell guys it's all right to go to work every day. It's all right to get your education. It's all right to be somebody positive in the community. It's all right to hang out with dudes who call themselves street dudes, and you ain't got to be a street dude to do it. I'm living proof that you ain't got to be in the street hustling and everything. And you ain't got to be in the street knocking somebody in the head and stuff like that. I'm living proof that you could go to work, home, and take care of your family. So now I came here to this internet to talk about this dude's character. It's nothing I said that could have landed that dude in jail. Any of those secrets would probably die with me. It's nothing that I said or I've heard anybody else say until the federal government came in, because nobody knew, Mighty. Nobody knew before the federal government came in and hit Puff with those charges that any of this would have ever happened. You could not tell me, nobody could predict that this dude would be sitting on trial for his life. It just wasn't in the cards. And now that this thing has happened, It's made YouTube a lot of money. It's made content creators a lot of money. And everybody is talking about something that we started. Way back with Wisdom Clear, MREC, you took over and took it to a whole nother level. Everybody is using it. Everybody is saying that it's Gene Deal's fault. It's Gene Deal who did this. Cassie and a couple other people now, since the federal government got involved in it. Nobody could predict what will happen, but I'm going to tell you what I think is going to go down, brother. Because a lot of shit has gone, and a lot of people who wasn't at the trial or didn't hear the prosecution do what they did would think Diddy might be getting off. A lot of people think that Diddy might be getting off because they don't know the letter of the law. The prosecution, let's start with them. They did a great job. They did a great job in explaining what sex trafficking, the 11 charges. The 11 charges, well, it's 4 or 5 charges, but they got different, like sex trafficking, then paying a prostitution. Under sex trafficking, they might have paying a prostitute, transporting prostitution. They got different checkpoints and that the juror's going to have to go through to check off whether this guy is guilty of the things they saying. The RICO law, they have different statutes of the RICO law that the prosecution had to prove, as well as racketeering. You know what I'm saying? All this started by what I said, the character of this gentleman, the character of Puff, what he has done over the years to people had nothing to do with Gene Deal. So now the prosecution went in there. They explained everything that Puff did. Diddy, as y'all know him as. Everything he did as far as the drug trafficking, having people bring him drugs, having people kidnapped, taken from their home, sitting up for hours in warehouses being given polygraph tests, beating of women, holding women over balconies. They prove that he bribed witnesses, tried to give certain people money. I guess it's not a bribery since there was no criminal charges, brought up prior to that. That's what the defense tried to say. But offering people money, selling lawsuits, things that he wasn't supposed to be guilty of, but he quick to settle them, quick to offer people money. The prosecution did that whole thing. They went through that whole gambit. Ain't nobody paying nobody no money if they ain't guilty of nothing. Not him. It was a lot of things that the prosecution did their job into showing us. Not only this guy's not a good guy, this guy behavior is detrimental to society. We can see that. We can see that because we know other things that he has said and done that didn't even make it to the trial. I look back on all the original charges. They could have went at him a whole lot of different ways. And I was wondering why they only did 4 or 5 charges. Why they didn't get into tax evasion? Why they didn't get into, it's a lot of things that they could have got into, but they didn't get into that, brother. And I'm wondering why. I'm wondering, is it because he got friends in high places still? That's a possibility. We wouldn't be here with the federal government if he never had made those people mad, bro. The federal government been knowing about Diddy for a long time. For a long time. You got people coming out saying now, I've seen Suge on your program, said he was a federal agent. I've been told people that. That I know him and Kirk Burroughs was taking paperwork down to the federal government. I've been knew he was going to DC. I did a show on that. It's a lot of things that's going on here. There's a lot of things that you see. Even when people thought that the prosecution was letting up by having the predicate acts and the predicate charges dropped. And people was going in, he getting off. No, they did that to make the case more better for the juror when they look at it. And it doesn't give him an opportunity. It may give him an opportunity, but it lessens his opportunity for appeals when they drop the attempted arson, attempted kidnapping, attempted this, that, and the third. When they drop those charges and say, no, he did do it, it makes it easier for the jury to read and make a decision on it. Instead of have to say, they got attempt here, and then they got he did it here. Did he attempt it or did he didn't do it? You understand? The jury don't have to go through stuff like that, brother. You understand? So now, the prosecution, what they did was they laid out everything this whole past week. And they put it into play. And here we go. We got the defense. The defense who did Diddy dirty. He paid them all that money for them to tell him, literally just say, okay, Cassie got $20 million out the deal. She's not a victim. These people came back to work because they loved them. What they didn't understand is that you had a guy that was in power. And he wasn't really a music mogul no more. He was selling alcohol. He was marketing. What music he sold in the last 10 years that would make him a multi-millionaire? He wasn't a music mogul. They was trying to pull, this music mogul. No. He was doing a whole lot of other things for those folks out there. And when he showed and bit the hand that fed him, he got himself in a whole lot of trouble. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him. He did this to himself, and his defense didn't help him. Well, they got in there. They made these stories. They said these things that, okay, these people loved him. Cassie got paid. They even went as far as saying that one of the girls that he was dealing with, Joan or Jane, that had a baby by another person in the music business, that he was taking care of the dude's son. Everybody know that's a lie. Everybody know that that's a lie. But that's what the lawyers are getting paid for. They lied when they said Cassie loved it and wanted to be there. They lied and said that everybody who was there loved him so much. They even asked one of his chief financial advisors on the stand doing cross. The prosecutor called him. That was Derek. I remember Derek from back in the day. We used to write them invoices to him. He have I check the next week. Derek was given a slew of questions about Diddy. He is a workaholic. He makes you do your best on everything. He has a project in front of him. He completes all the projects. He does what he's supposed to do. And then the defense asked him, well, would you say Mr. Combs is a good man, a great guy? Derek got quiet as a church mouse and didn't say nothing. This is somebody that worked with him for years. Didn't say, and the defense said, strike that question, let's leave that alone. So now, everybody wondering, the defense, who they gonna call? Who they gonna call up to the stand? They couldn't even call Ghostbusters. Man, listen here. Nobody. You know why they didn't call nobody? Because they didn't want nobody to be crossed. It ain't because that the defense did a terrible job. I mean, the prosecution did a terrible job. They didn't prove their case. If they didn't prove their case, those motions to dismiss would have been thrown out. The judge would have been like, yo, you really listen here. Y'all right. Them motherfuckers ain't proved nothing. Those motions to dismiss would have been granted. If the prosecution didn't prove their case, those motions that Diddy and them put in to dismiss the case would have been granted. Now, was these cases stretched as we know by RICO, as we know by racketeering? They could have been stretched, but they still was the law. They came in accordance to the guidelines of the law so the prosecution could charge them with it. And the defense didn't fight that. They took to fight against the witnesses. The prosecution, I think they had about 34, anywhere from 27 to 34 witnesses. So the defense went at them, the ones that they could. Because somebody offered you $100,000 for a tape. How you gonna get mad at me? That's your dude who offered me the money. I ain't turning down nothing but my collar. So all those things that they should have went at of and tried to get witnesses, they dare not to. They dare not. Like they were saying, yo, my client might go on a witness. He might be a witness too, Your Honor. Speaking about Diddy, his narcissistic ass would have got bombed on by those 6 white girls, the 6-pack girls. I bet they drink Budweiser. But those girls would have tore his ass up, his narcissistic ass, because he was going to have to explain everything he did. So, why you hung over the balcony? Or why you choked her? Why you threw apples? Why you threw a glass? What makes you so angry? Do you think people want to have pee in their mouth? Do you have a sick fetish with lubricant, baby oil? He would have to explain all of that. So they couldn't have put his ass on the stand. He couldn't even defend himself. He wouldn't have been able to defend himself. This whole thing has been crazy. His daughters and them broke down and crying in the courtroom, leaving out. Who does that to their kids, bruh? This dude ain't the same dude that came into the same game. This dude ain't the same dude that partied in New York City when he had Bad Boy in New York City. All these guys come on this YouTube and they want to blame security for his character. They want to say security has something to do with it, allowed him to do this and do like that. I ain't never seen not one officer and not one of those events that he was in the street with. Puff had a lot of sense. He didn't do his dirt with NYPD, with parole, corrections, or none of us who worked for him. If he did his dirt, he did it with those street guys who were security and that showed up and came up in the trial. They came up in the trial. So now, none of the security that was police officers or had government credentials came up in the trial, bro. D-Rock, Paul, Bonds, Remy, street guys. Say hello to the bad guy here. Because you want to make me out the bad guy. Because I'm going to tell you the truth and I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. My prediction on this, what I believe that's going to go down, the trial, if it happens before the 4th of July, he might have a chance. If it goes after the 4th of July, that means those jurors are taking their job seriously. They have went down and took the judge's instructions and said, we're not going to let this MF go unless we're sure, unless we're positive. We're not going to put him back on the streets unless we know for sure that we could be safe. They're not going to find him guilty if it happens before the 4th. If it happened after the 4th, I predict that they're going to find him guilty. Now, Mighty, you might want to say, well, is that That's not giving me your opinion, G. You're not telling me what you really think, but I am. I spent 27 years of my life, man, trying to keep guys out of jail. I spent 27 years of my life trying to tell dudes this is the right way. When I was with Puff, I would do the same thing to him. No, bro. Nah, we not. Nah, let's move. Don't do this. Let's get involved. Nah, let's move from here. Let's go. That was my job. Not only to protect him, but protect people around us from the bull. I would never, ever let him do no dumb shit. Not to women, not to even his own mama. This is crazy out here. This dude, I know. I know because I know. I know because I know, Mighty. He don't belong in society. He need to pay his just dues. And I hate the fact that his daughter, his kids gotta hear this, gotta go through what they go through, because they gonna love their father if, ands, or buts, or supposes. They love their daddy because that's their father. But to hear all the monstrous shit that he did to women, whether they let him or not, whether they let him or not, it's got to wear on them. It's got to hurt their heart. Those kids now, Mighty, the courts don't care about that. Justice is blind. She got that blindfold on her. Who told the best story? The prosecution told the best story. Who made the best sense? No matter how big, how little it is, the prosecution made the best sense. They told the best stories. But it's up to the jurors now. The jurors got to decide. They're not going to be looking at her family dynamics, what those little girls are going to think, what the other public is going to think. If they do the right thing, they're going to think about the job and the task they took on and do the best to their ability. Did the prosecution prove their case? Yes, they did, Mighty. No matter how minute we might believe or think it is in our community, they proved their case. This dude ain't a good dude, bruh. This dude did to people that he loved. Stopped them from getting certain jobs. Saying things to other people to get people hurt. I used to wonder why Heavy D used to grab that little nigga by the throat, by the back of his head, and like pull him in the office. Heavy, here's something. Now, I don't care who was doing security. When Heavy D came around Puff and he grabbed this little nigga and brought him into an office, Puff was a Biggie, Mace, had all those big artists. When Heavy heard something bad that happened and he didn't did it, or said something or did something to somebody, Heavy would grab that little nigga by the back of his throat and rush this nigga in the office. And nobody might never seen Heavy like that. But Heavy would have hurt him. He didn't play those games. And a lot of y'all don't know Heavy D to be that type of person. Y'all think that dancing, that rapping stuff like you, I got that own thing shit like that. Nah. Heavy was, he had that street in him. Money owner earning Mount Vernon, the Young Guns. They all represent Heavy D. Heavy had some kind of power over this cat. It seemed like when Heavy died, Wolf died, this nigga just went bonkers, haywire. So does he have a defense? He don't have no defense, bro. We seen that. He ain't had no witnesses, because cross-examination would have tore their ass up. The jurors seen 34 witnesses from the 27 or 34 witnesses from the prosecution to go through another 10, 4, 5 other witnesses that he maybe could have brought, or he should have brought, or would have, could have. They didn't want to see the prosecution tear their ass up. So they rest. They rest. Now Diddy is going to go somewhere and rest too. The only thing that's going to save him for doing a whole lot of years is that pre-sentencing based on the categories in which they fall up under if he gets the RICO. At the RICO, he could get life. That's what they're trying to avoid. They praying that the jurors don't give him the RICO and the racketeering. If he just get the sex crimes, the judge going to hit him with the, I guess the right terminology would be the full extent of the law, based on the category, based on this being his first federal, actually it's federal, he didn't get charged in DC, but I don't know how he worked that out with that little shit that happened in DC back in 91 or 90. No, it was 90. That little stampede, and I don't know what he did to work that off. But when they go back and see that this is his, let's look at, this might be his first criminal charges and everything like that, the judge is going to hit him with the full extent based on the category. Now the lawyers, they're going to go in there and they're going to argue this, that, and the third about his time. That's what they're going to do. But they praying that he don't get the RICO. They praying that he don't get the racketeering. The sex trafficking was completely proven by 27 sex workers flying in and out, having sex with Cassie and Jane, and being paid to have sex with Cassie and Jane, and doing all kinds of crazy shit, busting they man juices on these women for him to lick it off. I don't know that. I don't know him. This Diddy is not the Puff that we knew. Or he was hiding something that we didn't even know. This is a crazy thing, Mighty. It's real crazy. And it's going down. It's coming to the end. And this is the first time in our life. Now, we seen this shit happen to R. Kelly. And did R. Kelly deserve all the time that he got? I don't know. Wasn't that his first time or this, that, and the third? And he got all those years for that? I don't know. But this is the first time that we seen a mofo that God gave him the ability to be a dream chaser turn into a nightmare maker in front of our eyes. He made a lot of nightmares for motherfuckers. And it's time. It's time for him to pay up. It's time for him to pay up for the DC stampede. It's time for him to pay up for the City College tragedy. It's time for him to pay up for Craig Mack, the notorious big Black Rob, anybody that he took from, anybody that he sit up there and say, well, I just did the same thing that Sony and Arista did to them. No, you wasn't supposed to, bruv. You wasn't supposed to. You was supposed to teach those kids the right business so they could take care of their families. God gave you the ability to chase your dreams and bring people in there to help them. You turned everybody that you touched. You made them have nightmares about you, bro. And now you didn't have a defense. Cats can say what you want to say. I rest my case.
So you personally, and I know it's hard to say, but if you had to pick, what charges do you think they're gonna get him on?
If I look at what they have a clear-cut charge on, is the transportation of prostitution. They have a clear-cut charge on transportation of prostitution. The RICO, which has the violence, the drugs, they have the drugs and the guns. They have those charges too because they found the guns in their house. The physical violence, which is basically domestic, I don't think those are federal charges. It just shows the action. The racketeering, using his businesses to pay for drugs, using his businesses to pay for prostitution, using his business to bribe witnesses and potential witnesses. I think the racketeering and the prostitution, transportation, and sale of the prostitution, that's what brings on the RICO. So it all plays in together. But I think it's a solid with the paying the sex workers and everything. And paying for the drugs with the business. I think that's solid as a rock.